Have you ever been at a thrift store, flea market, or even an estate sale, spotted something gorgeous and thought, I love this, but what do I even do with a vintage napkin holder? Well, I say buy it anyway, because with a little bit of creativity and thinking outside the box, you can create a new job for that beautiful item later. One of the best things about living a vintage lifestyle is that there are no rules. Or rather, there were rules, but yeah, we're not following those. Now, of course, I love using vintage items in my home, but I don't always use them the way that they were originally intended. And honestly, I think that's where some magic happens. Today, I'm going to show you a few of my favorite vintage pieces that have found entirely new jobs in my home. They may have been designed for one thing, but they are thriving in their second careers. And I'll give you a few more ideas so you can keep an eye out for things on your next shopping trip. Let's start with these vintage bookends. Now, these cute little owls were probably meant to, I don't know, keep volumes of Dickens upright. But what do I use them for? Door stops for my kitchen and office doors. Now, these are a little bit lighter than what I originally wanted. I was looking for a good chunky bookend. But these actually work perfectly because they fit right under the door. For the one in my kitchen, I did put this adhesive foam underneath, and just because it sits on the tile, and that way it doesn't slide around. But I just love how they fit right underneath the doors and keep them open, even with the intense cross breezes that we get. Next up, this little milk glass cup, which I assume was originally either a drinking glass or maybe a dessert cup, but now it holds my remote controls. Because if I'm going to have a separate remote for every device, they might as well be contained in something really cute. I bought a whole set of these little milk glass jars. They're spice jars, but they didn't have tops with them. But they were just so adorable, I had to have them. And I finally came up with a new job for them. They are now my reed oil diffusers all around my house. This gorgeous Victorian brass napkin holder is actually my iPad stand. It's heavy, it's elegant, and it holds my iPad at just the right angle while it charges. I, of course, love a good vintage hat box. They're charming and just kind of always feel like they're, I don't know, hiding something fabulous. In my case, they are hiding my foam rollers and pillow rollers for my wet sets. Somehow it just feels right. Plus, it just makes my hair supplies, I don't know, feel a little bit fancier. This little crystal egg cup was, I don't know, probably meant for a very elegant breakfast. But in my house, it holds my makeup sponge, which oddly enough, kind of looks like an egg. It's the perfect size. It looks really pretty on my vanity. And honestly, it kind of makes doing makeup feel a little bit more glamorous. This darling flower vase now holds all of my hairbrushes. And of course, a vanity isn't complete without a vintage head vase. But this little lady, she's got a job. She holds all my makeup brushes, which really need to be cleaned. A mug holder is perfect for displaying your vintage bangles or bracelets. Vintage flower frogs make really good pen or pencil holders, and these metal pronged ones are perfect for holding postcards or paper ephemera. This one holds my daily tarot card draw. We have a couple vintage travel trunks in our entryway, and we've just stacked them up as kind of a makeshift table. They're beautifully worn, super sturdy, and definitely not being used to fly off anywhere anytime soon. Inside, we store blankets and things that we don't need on a regular basis. They work really great for us as a place to just set our stuff and keep our keys in one place. It's basically vintage furniture with built-in storage, which I think is very efficient of me. I of course love using vintage as decor in my home or creatively upcycling items that no longer are able to serve their original purpose. But this really isn't upcycling, and it's not just decorating either. Upcycling is usually when you change the structure of something, like turning a vintage dress into a skirt or painting a dresser to give it a completely new look. And decorating with vintage, of course, we love that too. Just placing something beautiful on a shelf or using in a room just because it adds charm. But this is kind of different. I'm not transforming the structure of these items. I'm just giving them new jobs, like a very glamorous career change. No DIY needed, just a little creative career counseling. A napkin holder that is now in charge of and charges my iPad, a crystal egg cup that's suddenly a makeup sponge throne, and a hat box that's been promoted to head of hair tools. I'm not altering these pieces at all. They're just doing something totally outside of their original job description. And that's what makes it fun for me. I'm not just surrounding myself with vintage just because it's beautiful, although it is. I'm actually using these things. They are a part of my day-to-day life, even though they're technically doing the wrong thing. It feels a little playful, a little rebellious, and I'd like to think that these pieces are enjoying their second career. There's so many fun ways that we can give vintage pieces a second life. No rules, just charm. I did a dive into Pinterest and came up with a few ideas. Vintage cigarette cases used as business card holders or even a wallet. I did this for years and I loved it. They fit just a small amount of cash and a couple of cards, and it was perfect. Jello molds and vintage dishes to organize drawers and small trinkets. Beautiful crystal dishes and bowls and stoneware plates can be used under potted plants as water catchers. These milk glass candy dishes used for sewing caddies, so adorable. There were tons of ideas on how to use milk glass in so many different ways. I loved seeing bud vases used to hold bangles or bracelets. Larger vases can be used to hold makeup brushes or your hair brushes, and smaller vessels can hold all of your other beauty tools. Vintage and antique hat pin holders can be very expensive, but salt and pepper shakers or even larger sugar shakers are generally inexpensive and work really great to hold your hat pins. Hat boxes can be used for storing electronics, craft supplies, or out-of-season accessories. You can stack them up and look really cute in a corner. Ashtrays. I especially love the fancy mid-century or Art Deco ones, but they can be used as jewelry holders or just a catch-all dish by your front door. Tin recipe boxes to store skincare or fragrance samples or your cotton rounds. And crystal candy dishes as candle holders. I think part of the fun of vintage living is reimagining what things can be. You're not just decorating, you're storytelling. And it reminds us that vintage living doesn't have to be precious or perfect. These pieces were made to be used. And if that means that a milk glass goblet ends up holding my remote controls instead of dessert, then so be it. So many vintage pieces were built to last. So that just means that they're waiting for someone to give them a new story. And I kind of love that I get to be a part of that. So I would love to know, do you use any vintage items in the totally wrong or unusual ways? Let me know in the comments, and maybe I will use some of your ideas in my next round of home tinkering. I'm really interested to hear what creative things you guys come up with. And I hope this video gave you a few ideas, or at the very least, a little permission to get playful with the things that you already have. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.